let's go right into natural gas today, because again, one of the things I've talked about with you guys on natural gas is that I've been patient, so freaking patient, right? We've talked about natural gas coming back to this level since it was all the way up here. In fact, I remember being long for the breakout with members at inthemoneystocks.com. And then once we took profits, we said, listen, we'll rebuy when it does a classic scene of the crime retrace. That's all we look for, right? These simple retraces. We don't chase, we don't stay long, we're not greedy. We want to simply take our money, sit back, relax, and let the chart come to us. When the chart tells us to buy, I'll buy. That's as simple as it is, right? Now, how does the chart tell us to buy, right? So number one, let's take a look here. So we see very clearly we have this pivot to this pivot to this pivot and right through here. On the underbelly, we have this level here, right? Then we have this level. We have this point, we have this point, we have this point, and that created a wedge pattern, which then allowed me to say, okay, generally when you have a flat top on a wedge pattern and you're beaten down, a breakout is going to occur to the upside. We got that breakout. I took profits right up here, right? So if you look at In the Money Stocks' track record, you could see that profit that we took. Now, the key was, once we were up here, I said, listen, the breakouts occurred. It probably has further to run eventually, but at some point, it's going to do what I call a classic retrace to the scene of the crime. And what ended up happening, we came back in, we made another pop, and then slowly, we've made our way back down to this level. And this was the level where I call it the scene of the crime. It's essentially both wedge pattern trend lines converging right into this $3 level on this chart of nat gas. Now, again, let's be clear. Does it guarantee us success on a long trade? The answer is no. There is absolutely no guarantees. But does probability come into play here? Does probability tell us that we might see some sort of bounce in this general vicinity? Is it smart to start a small starter position on natural gas? And the answer to me is yes, right? It's all about positioning yourself with probabilities in your favor. So nat gas to me has now achieved my beginning starting position on a long trade down here. All right, so again, I love going into this stuff, guys, because again, it just tells us and it gives us an idea. There's a basis behind a trade. So many people out there, and there's no faulting this, right? I mean, it's just the nature of people. They go on emotion. Oh my gosh, it's running up. I've got to jump on board. Ultimately, do most people make money or lose money? And the answer is lose money, right? Now, if you're a long-term investor, sure, long-term, you're probably going to make money. But if you're shorter term, you're losing money unless you're using fundamental, key technical things to dictate your trading levels, right? Probabilities. That's what it's all about. Last thing I'll say here, guys, is Nvidia reports earnings this week on Tuesday after the close. So remember, bond auction today. Tomorrow, we have the Fed minutes in the afternoon. I believe it's the Fed minutes or it's the beige book. Either way, some Fed speak. Then on Tuesday, tomorrow after the bell, we have Nvidia earnings. Nvidia is a wild card here. I'm just going to be honest with you. We've obviously stayed in this channel. It's an absolute amazing channel, right? I mean, up here, here, here. We are at a double top. We're close to a double top here. We just hit off here. If really good earnings come out, could it go up? Yes, it could. Honestly, it could. But again, I'm in the position of saying over the longer term, over the next 2-3 years, I think it becomes like a Tesla, which is competition comes out, they're going to be forced to cut. NVIDIA is going to have to cut its prices on its chips to meet the competition. And you're going to see this eventually, and again, upsloping trend lines eventually break down, and eventually I see this. Now, again, that doesn't tell me what it's going to do on earnings. That's a wild card. But overall, over the next couple years, I do expect it to come back in.